Good morning, GVA. Mr. Ruley here with another excellent author interview for the morning. And today we are so excited to welcome Linda Joy Singleton. Linda, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's so nice to talk with you.
Oh, it's great to talk with you. And I love your library in the background. That looks so fun.
I love kids' books. I've been collecting them, reading them, writing them for decades.
Oh, that's great. There's something so magical about children's literature, isn't there?
Yeah, you just always feel like a kid.
That's totally true. All right. Well, Linda has written several books here. We have a line of picture books, things like A Cat is Better, Lucy Loves Goosey. And I know that one's about your own dog, Lucy, correct?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Little Lucy Goosey.
And then I know you've written some young adult novels with, some of the middle grade level there with Seer, the Dead Girl, and the Memory Girl series. Those all sound pretty fascinating too.
Well, thank you. They were definitely fun to write, and they were probably my most popular.
Excellent. Well, looking through your inventory here, one of the book series that really caught my eye was your Curious Cat Spy Club series. That sounds like a lot of fun. Can you tell us a little bit about that series?
Well, when I was about 10 years old, I was fascinated with watching spy shows on TV, loved cats, loved dogs, collected cats and dog pictures, wrote stories, and I just kind of combined it all. And my best friend and I decided we would have our own little club, and we actually had a club called the Curious Cat Spy Club. And we didn't really do much, except we did solve one mystery because a staple gun had been stolen out of my father's garage. And we were able to track it down to the neighborhood boys next door, and we spied on them through the fence, and were able to, prove that they did it and get the staple gun back. That's like say we did, and we always had cats and dogs, so that was a big thing for us.
Oh, you had your own caper there. What a great inspiration.
Yeah, it was fun, and when it was actually a friend of mine who I was telling one day about this club I had as a child, and she's another writer, and she looked at me and she said, that would make a great title for a book. I was like, duh, why did I think of it? But this is really common. Sometimes things that are so close to you, you don't stand back and actually look and say, hey, that would make a great idea. And when I mentioned it to an editor I was already working with, the same editor who published Snow Dog, Sand Dog, that was my first picture book. She liked the idea, and all of a sudden, 3 years later, I have 6 books in the series, plus a special bonus book, which you can get on Amazon, either as an ebook, I think, for 99 cents, or the paperback is $3.99. But this actually goes back to the 70s, and it's based on the house I grew up in and the dog that I had as a child. So it's got a little mysteries revealed there about me.
Oh, that is pretty fascinating. And once again, great to write about, from your own passions in your own life. That's great. So, hey, I want to get down to the writing process here. And, in writing, one of the most important standards for us is knowing your audience, right? You have to know your audience. So when you're writing, you're speaking directly to a specific audience. Now, looking at, you have several different age groups that you're writing to. Do you have a different approach when you write books to a younger audience than when you write books for an older audience?
It's more just getting into the voice by reading a lot first.
Okay.
If I'm reading a lot of middle grade, which I love middle grade, and I get so excited when I find a new series I love that I just shout it out to everybody, because I absolutely just love books, and I love how they take me away somewhere else. Because things get really stressful. A lot of people right now are stuck at home, can't do anything else. And reading is just a way that your mind, you really do go someplace else when you're reading a book, and you feel like you've been there.
Oh, that is great advice right there. And I totally feel the same way. Excellent. All right. Well, let's get into the idea of publishing here. When I was 14, I was playing with Legos, watching cartoons, and, learning how to pour myself a bowl of cereal, right? But when you were 14, you actually submitted your first book for publishing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, I started writing when I was, the oldest I can go back is when I was 8 years old. Let's see if that.
Oh, look at that.
This is actually the first book I wrote, and it's a very short little book. The cool thing about this, and as a teacher, you will appreciate this, is that this is, you can't read it, it's really hard to see it, but it's called Tabin the Milk Cat, and she solves a mystery. So at first I wrote it, you know, in pencil, lined paper, and then every once in a while I would do a drawing, which I'm not an artist. Right. And I found another copy of the exact same story that I did a year later, and I edited it and rewrote it without even knowing these were actually tools that a writer uses all the time. But I think it's, you know, I wanted it to look a little better. So now it has a cover page, and I gave it chapter titles.
And a fancy border there.
Drawings are a little better. And because I was fascinated with highlights, I made all these little games and stuff at the end, just like highlight magazines have.
Oh, those magazines were fun. I remember those.
Yeah, so at 9 years old, I rewrote the story and made it better, because that's when you really get proud of your work, is when you take the rough thing you wrote at first, and then you make it shinier and prettier and the words stronger. So rewriting is actually like my favorite part of writing.
Yeah, that's an important part of that refinement process, because that's where you get to really build on your ideas and just make them better and better.
Yeah, it's truly like taking that rough piece of a jewel and just shining it until you can wear it like jewelry.
Yeah.
It's such a good feeling to really fix something that you feel that you know is a little rough, and then you read it again, it's like, oh, that's it. That is so good.
Oh, that's great.
I still share my work with my mom. I will like read my stories to her, and she's always been my first, you know, my first fan. She loves it when I read to her. So she's read every one of my books, and I've written over 50. Well,
wow.
I've published. There's about 7 that never got published.
Well, we all need a super fan in our corner like that. That must be great.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom's been my best fan, and even my dad, who wasn't much of a reader really, even though he wanted to be a writer. He's the one. He is the one who showed me how to format a manuscript when I was 14.
Okay.
To get back to her question. I didn't know anything about it. And this was quite a few years ago. I was actually typing all my stories on an electric typewriter at that point. And I was a very fast typist, so that helped. But I didn't know format. And my dad actually took a class at a Sacramento college because I was too young. There was no classes for me anywhere. And we did not have the internet yet, which now you could go and learn.
How did you survive?
I know. How did you survive without it? Oh, God. I would have loved the internet. I would have been blogging and texting and all this stuff like crazy. Would have absolutely loved it. And in fact, actually, I do blog and text and stuff now. But so no, he came home and he said, okay, you have to double space it. You have to have 1-inch margins. You have to, you know, put your title here, put your name and address up in the top left-hand corner. You know, all these little technical things, which you can find out easily online now. But back then you had to go, we would go to the bookstore, and we actually got a big, thick book that showed us publisher names. And I did submit short stories to magazines. An American Girl magazine wrote back a very nice rejection. And because it was like, wow, this editor's writing to me. And she said, you know, she said nice things, that she liked my story. You know, they weren't able to publish it, but to please send more, you know, and to keep learning how to write. She was very encouraging. So my first rejection was not a bad experience. It was a good one.
Well, that's an interesting point. Even though you got that rejection there, the fact that someone took the time to read it and got back to you, I can see where that would feel good.
Yeah, I still have that letter.
Oh.
Because I save everything.
Yeah.
I have a big box like this of rejections. It took a while to make my first sale, so. But I just kept trying and trying until I finally sold my first book. Right before I turned 30, I sold my first book. So it took a while.
Man, you know, we do Eaglet Awards here at GVA where, you know, we want to honor students that have perseverance, determination. Students are always willing to keep on working and keep doing their best. And what a great life lesson there where, hey, you know, you didn't give up, you pressed on through, you kept on working at it, and you finally succeeded. I think that's a great story.
Oh, well, thank you. And it's one that, I miss going to schools directly and speaking to kids, because that was one of my favorite parts of writing. And that's one thing I always love to share, is just, you got to keep trying. And not just writing. If you're interested in art or programming computers or, creating video games, being a singer, anything that you want to do, it's just a matter of sticking with it and don't give up, because the people who give up are the ones that lose. But if you keep trying, and that's one thing, most of my writing friends have all said that they admire how I've been so determined and haven't given up.
Well,
because believe I get rejections. I still get them. I got one, I think, a week ago. So.
But you never give up. That is great. Well, definitely an inspiring words of wisdom there from Linda Joy Singleton. This is great.